Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on driving sustainable and predictable growth with strategic distribution metrics. My name is Sean Ostheimer. I am the president and founder here at the Answer Company, and I am joined by Danny Jang. Danny is our Acumatica pre-sales consultant, and Danny is going to be walking you through some of these features in Acumatica a little bit later in our presentation. Some housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded and distributed afterwards. Please submit your questions in the Q&A box that is located in the right-hand panel. We'll do our best to answer your question. If we don't happen to get to the question today, we'll personally reach out to you and answer your question. And also on the Files tab, you can find an ebook on distribution metrics. Please feel free to download that document. And so for today's agenda, we have a full agenda today. I'm pretty excited about this topic because we always champion this data-led approach to business process optimization. We're going to spend the first half of the presentation doing a quick introduction to metrics. We're going to give you some tips and tricks on why they're important, and then look at some of the common mistakes you could make. After that, we'll go right into an overview of Acumatica and some of the canned dashboards and generating queries, and of course reports that we provide out of the box to help with these metrics. At the back half of the presentation, we have the most exciting part. We'll share a customer story from one of our customers, Style and Font, a furniture wholesale distributor. It's a pretty cool story, and their journey with metrics has really shaped the next phase of growth for their organization. And at the end, we'll wrap up with some Q&A, and so that's our agenda for today. So let's start with an introduction. It seems very simple to throw up a definition, and I think it does set the tone for today's webinar. Metrics or KPIs, some people use them differently, some use them interchangeably. What we're talking about today is a way to quantifiably measure your business processes and to judge the performance level that you're driving. One point that I'll make is there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of metrics that you could be tracking in your business. Some of those are going to relate to certain businesses, and others may relate to other industries, but there are some fundamental ones across every industry. Most of the ones we're going to pay attention to today are the high-value KPIs and metrics for distributors and manufacturers, but they cross across every company size and geography, and they're the ones I think are the most critical for everyone to take a look at. So what are the importance of metrics for distributors and indeed manufacturers or retailers who handle their own distribution of goods? Over the last couple of years, we've seen a real breakdown in the globalization of supply chain that was common pre-2022. Keeping an eye on those metrics can assure that you're keeping your customer experience exceptional and getting true insights on your operation. So let's take a look at some important impacts of metrics. The first one is that we can improve efficiency. If we think we have a problem with efficiency, we can measure that often to find out what exactly is happening, and then put into actions or activities that are able to affect that as a measure. Then evaluate, did those actions actually improve that process? Second, outmaneuvering your competitors. There's a lot of things that we can do to track metrics on market share or pricing. Could be sales performance against competitors, so that we can use those metrics to fend off competitors. Aligning our actions with your business goals. You often think about something like growing revenue by 5%. Well, how are we going to do that? There needs to be a process in place, and they need to measure whether or not you're attaining those goals. Boosting profits can kind of be a no-brainer. I don't think there's anybody on the call that wouldn't want to do that. Reducing risk. A lot of times it's not just about being more competitive. It's about reducing the risk coming at you in all different shapes and sizes. That could be the risk of return, could be the risk of losing a customer, could be the risk of missing a market opportunity. So there's a lot of different risks and measures that we can identify ways to reduce them. Improved decision-making is another no-brainer. This is really kind of core. The crux of the metrics and the KPIs are all about. Thrilling our customers, most of us probably measure customer satisfaction somehow. Maybe you have a Net Promoter Score, but there are other ways that we can measure customer satisfaction. Are they giving us references? Are we surveying them after an order? If we have an e-commerce site, are they giving us a positive return? Do we have product returns? How long have they been a customer, and are they increasing the spending with us? These are all ways that we can measure our customer satisfaction rates. And the last one that I want to point out is empowering your employees. So giving them a role-based dashboard, role-based, accurate, timely, and complete information so that they can do their jobs better. So we're going to move on to some common mistakes. A huge one that I want to draw attention to is relying on bad data. The source of bad data can be numerous. It can be human error, disconnected systems, varying formats or volumes of information collected, and no holistic place to handle all that data. Especially now as we move into the age where AI capabilities are so common, decent, complete, and clean data is the only functional fuel for large language processing models. So step number one is really to fix any holes or inaccuracies in your data. Then connect your systems and do a data audit to make sure that the data that you have is accurate and complete. We talked about earlier the lack of strategic alignment. A lot of times we work with companies that start measuring something, implement processes, improve it, and then kind of leave it alone and continue to monitor it. If you're already achieved that goal, you'll need to set new goals. What are our next goals going to be for 2024? Where do we want to drive improvement in the process? Now let's set another set of metrics and KPIs and measure our ability to achieve those goals. Lagging versus leading indicators, we'll discuss this more on the next slide. The lagging indicators, what happened, are important to know, but a lot of times we can look at leading indicators that are really going to help us prevent problems that could potentially happen in the future. That's a leading indicator. Missing peer benchmarks. A lot of companies really don't know how to tackle this one. How do I compare against my peers? Am I doing good? Some companies think that they're doing much better than their peers. Others always think that their competitors are doing it better than them. We'll give you some resources later on that maybe you can start your journey so that you can get some peer benchmarks in place. And then last but not least, measuring the wrong indicators. Too often we measure things we think are important, but are not doing anything with the data. There's where we need something that we can act on. There are some people that say there are 5 different types, but I think there's really 4 types of metrics. The first is descriptive. Descripting is typically a lagging indicator. It tells us what has happened. Predictive is kind of a leading indicator. It's going to tell us what might happen or is likely to happen. Diagnostic is pretty self-explanatory. Why did it happen? And probably the most difficult to measure is prescriptive. How can I stop it from happening again? How can I prevent it? So I would say most companies are going to be looking at descriptive and predictive and possibly diagnostic. If you can get to prescriptive, you're doing quite well for yourself. There are really 4 key business areas that you need to look at strategically in developing your performance indicators and metrics. The first is financials, fairly self-explanatory. So we have 3 bullets here. The first is revenue. We're all measuring revenue. We're all measuring our gross margins. Our G&A expenses as a percentage of revenue, there's something that's key. We can look at cash flows. You can look at one metric or you can look at multiples. There's different ways to look at this, but there's something you should be doing. You should be looking at your days sales outstanding, your DSO days, available outstanding on the AP side, and your access to working capital. Operationally, you need to be looking at metrics around staffing. They can mean a lot of different things to your business. Do you have adequate staffing? Are there areas where you need to do training? Do we need to look at staffing in other areas? Next, operating margin. That's a kind of different way to look at your financial performance. And then last but not least, pretty key in distribution, is the quote to cash cycle. What does that look like? Are things moving through your supply chain? Are they moving fast enough? Are you winning at the right rate? What are your close rates? And finally, sales and marketing. Again, a key area of distribution. Measuring your pipeline. The number of sales quotes you have out there. What's your percentage winning? Sales activities. If I'm not making enough phone calls or having enough meetings, I'm probably not going to be selling as much. Lost sales analysis. Understanding why we lost an opportunity and how we can improve upon that. And then last, and of course, but not least, is your customer satisfaction performance. The last quadrant here is inventory and warehousing. And there are just three areas I think are pretty important. Your inventory accuracy, your day supply, your inventory turns, and your carrying costs. Really, these are going to tell you things like warehouse efficiency. Are you picking at the right rates? Are we putting away? Are we fulfilling orders at the right rates? All these types of things can be measured, and when we measure them, we can improve them. I promised you some key metrics. Now, these happen to come from the US Census Bureau, but we expect that Canadian rates are going to be pretty similar. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can likely see your industry up there, and you can see where you would potentially compare and compare yourself to the data of your peers in the industry. I'll just put a few numbers up there for additional industries. Many of these industries are where Acumatica tends to play well. If you don't see your data on the other slide, it's just because we couldn't map them quite neatly in the icon. So we do have some other industry segments up here as well: general merchandise, miscellaneous retail, non-store retailers, e-commerce and mail order, and some other distribution industries. You can kind of see these and pick out the ones that are most applicable to your organization. This study tends to focus on large organizations, so take this data with a grain of salt, because some folks may be smaller and not quite as comparable with these numbers. Here, I highlight some of the metrics for distribution that I think you guys should be paying attention to. What is your 3-year annual growth rate? 5% is the norm. What is your gross margin rate? Here we can see 21.2% across industries generally. And net profit, around 3% or better, and your inventory turns around 9.5. And there's some additional ones out there that we could care about. It gives you an idea of where you might compare to these general industry statistics. And finally, we want to talk about some benchmarking resources. We have a metric playbook that's available right here on the webinar platform. You can get it from the Files tab on the right-hand panel. US Bureau of Labor Statistics and Statistics Canada can also help if you're looking for industry-specific metrics. Okay, so I'm going to hand it off to Danny. He's going to walk us through Acumatica and some of the key dashboards and reports and inquiries. Danny, it's all yours.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can see my screen now. Just shared it, and I'm coming through loud and clear for y'all. So let's just jump right into Acumatica here now, and we're going to go through some of the out-of-the-box reporting and all the dashboarding that is available throughout Acumatica. So first things we like to set up for our customers when we talk about a new system is going to be things like what's going to be the lowest common denominator as a basis for our reporting, and this will be true regardless of what solution you decide on, but I hope you choose Acumatica. We want to think about things like, do I want to report on companies, branches, divisions, so on and so forth. And Acumatica here, when I click on the company selector up at the top, there is going to be a hierarchy of my different companies that I have set up. I have companies that have divisions, so on and so forth. So at the bottom, you see I have 3 companies set up. I have 4 branches, and you can see how they roll up. Later on, we're going to take a look at some reports that will be able to show us the different company reporting, the roll-ups into the different companies, so on and so forth. Another thing that we generally want to talk about when we're setting up companies, thinking about things like metrics, reporting, and so on, is going to be things like our GL structure in terms of the account numbers, and things like our sub-accounts or dimensions, if you will. Here within Acumatica, the way I have my company set up is that here is going to be my chart of accounts, and this is for my GL. I have one segment in it. It's going to be right now 5 characters in length, and Acumatica allows me a maximum of 10 characters. Okay, and set that up. We can do that up in divisions with different segments, different say branches as well, in terms of segments in the general ledger, as well as what we have as well is sub accounts that we support within Acumatica. And within the sub account segment, there you'll see we will then now allow another 30 characters for sub accounts, and I've broken my sub accounts into product group as well as departments. And again, we're going to be able to report on all this, set up and create different reports, analysis for these different GL accounts as well as the sub accounts. So now let's take a look at my different dashboards that I have available within Acumatica. I'm gone into my dashboards workspace here, and you can see here that I have many different dashboards in terms of the areas like finance, my manufacturing, my distributions and inventory. And I'm going to first go in and take a look at my controller dashboard. Here you see I have all the different widgets set up. I have charts, I have graphs, and then there you see that as a controller dashboard, things here like my income versus my expenses in a nice chart that I can see. I can see also things like the different widgets that I can drill down onto, as well as you can see that I have multiple links to different dashboards as well. So there's an AR clerk dashboard, there's an AP clerk dashboard, and normally wherever my pointer turns into a little hand, I'm going to be able to drill down into those different areas. So let me drill down into my AR clerk dashboard here, and when I drill down into it, now this is a more focused dashboard on the areas to do with my AR. So helpful widgets here like unreleased documents in the prior month. So when I'm doing things like trying to close a month or a period out, I want to know, do I have any unreleased documents? And that way nothing's going to be left unposted as my different financial statements get created for the period. There you see I have things like AR overdue, so on and so forth. And again, I do have things here which are charts, graphs. There's my total AR throughout the period, and I can see my AR starting to rise from the previous periods. Okay, overdue balances, by my different customers, so on and so forth. So if I now look at this dashboard, the dashboard is presented to us in multiple different colors in a traffic light warning type of system, where if it's green, I have no documents on hold. That's good. If I see it in red, in where my AR is overdue, this is something I want to give some attention to. And I can set those different thresholds for coloring based on what my preferences are. So I click down on the design. There you see now I have the ability to edit these. And if I go down into my AR overdue, let me edit this widget. I can see that I always want to see it in red because my normal level is 0. Now I can change this to something different, like let's go with 5 million. And then this changes to 10 million. And what will happen is that up to the 5 million screen, past the 10 million will be shown in red. And then when I finish my changes, there now, it hasn't changed my widget, but that's how I can set my preferences for myself. If I want to add more widgets, there, let's go down to the bottom of the edit screen here, and I can add more widgets such as charts, raw data tables. I can create more KPIs like the ones we see in the background here, as well as bring in things like pivot tables, as well as bringing in BI reports from external reporting tools. Okay, so this is the way I can then personalize, set up what I find important for KPIs for myself, the dashboards that I want to set up. And then here, again, let's go back into my dashboard workspace here and look at some other different dashboards that are available to us. Now, when I go and look at my purchase manager dashboard here, here's going to be an excellent dashboard for me to be able to, as a purchasing manager, be able to see and get Acumatica to help me make purchase suggestions, keep my stock levels at the proper levels here. So when I drill down into it, there you'll see that based on things like min-max settings, based on things like demand for my product, based on all these different factors, Acumatica will be able to then set and create suggestions for me to go out and create purchase orders for these. Okay, so back in my purchase manager dashboards, there again you see things like, how are my vendors performing? Are they on average late for their deliveries? And there you see that my different vendors have average days late, and I can then make decisions on do I need to give them more lead time, or do I need to look for vendors that are going to be on time? There you see for a purchasing manager, things like turnover of my items are important, high turnover items versus low turnover items. And I can set these to give me visibility into my purchasing and to help manage all the different aspects of purchasing. There you see I have overdue receipts. So when I have purchase orders outstanding that are overdue, I need to know, because there could be customers waiting for it. Our production facilities may be needing these goods for our manufacturing processes, so on and so forth. Also here you see I have the ability to be able to set purchase orders with approval processes, excuse me, and there the system is telling me that I have purchase orders that are pending approval, and therefore I should go in and do the approvals. All right, so other dashboards here that we have available that go into my favorites here are going to be things like my inventory, my warehouse manager. So there's a warehouse manager dashboard in where I can now get an overall picture of everything that's happening within the warehouse, from my shipping orders to late orders going out the door to my receiving, so on and so forth. And if I have multiple warehouses here, let me filter down to a specific warehouse, and now I can manage and look at very specific warehouses with my multiple warehouse setup. I can do that all through the dashboards here. So again, things like my shipping ratios, how long on average, the shipments are going out, how many per day I have, so on and so forth. Now, in terms of other dashboards, we have lots of them. And here, let's take a look at a receiving clerk dashboard, in where this receiving clerk will be able to see, again, things like overdue purchase receipts. And then here I can see that we had receipts coming in with no invoices. And here are tasks for my receiving clerks. So things like items that they need to put away into the proper racks and bins that are sitting in the receiving area. If we go into the dashboards here, another dashboard here I have, whoops, sorry, let me go into the other dashboard here, shipping clerk. And the shipping clerk, again, shows orders that need to be shipped, anything that needs to be picked and packed. And then there I have different orders assigned to me that are now overdue or overdue for the pick and pack processes. Now, those are some of the dashboards available. Let's now take a look at some of the different reports that we have available. So things like being able to get a cash flow forecast based on the account that I can pick up. My bank account shows me that I have cash receipts. These are all expected to come in during specific times, forecasting through the periods. My sample data here, everything falls into one bucket because it seems to be all overdue. But once we set this up and you get actual live data in it, this will flow nicely to be able to see when these different cash flow forecasts will be forecasted for me. I talked earlier about finance different reports. Here's going to be a profit and loss statement based on things like the account numbers, account structures. There I can look at specific profit loss statements for my branches, my different companies that I've set up, and then a consolidated report for all my different companies all brought in together. Again, you see that my pointers changes to a little hand, gives me drill down into all the different areas. Like there's my total sales revenue, gives me a breakdown in the account, shows me also to then the sub accounts that I've set up, and gives me drill down into those different areas for further analysis. And then able to export all my reports into Excel for further slicing, dicing, pivot tables, however I want to be able to create those different reports or format those reports in Excel. In terms of things like inventory, if I go back to my favorites, there's going to be my inventory reports up here. There's going to be a dead stock report for me to be able to see, by warehouse, if I have any items here, which I have, say, in inventory for at least 180 days. I have not sold anything in 90 days. There gives me a report of all the items that match that criteria and gives me all my costing for it. So now I can make decisions, informed decisions on how I want to handle these. Okay. Back into the finance area, one other report I want to show you is going to be my profit and loss by product. So we're going to be able to do a lot of reporting out of Acumatica. And there you see I have a report based on my product groups. And then there you see that these are my profit and loss by the products. And again, these reports are easily created out of the box for us. That's a quick, fast overview of what I wanted to show you, some of the features, the functionality that Acumatica provides for us. Hope you enjoyed this.
Okay, well, I'm back. Danny, thank you for that presentation and walking us through Acumatica and how Acumatica can help us track some of those key metrics. That was really great to see. I want to wrap up our session today just by talking a little bit about one of our customers. We really focus here at the Answer Company on delivering Acumatica to organizations that can really help propel their business forward. And this particular story is really great. It's a BC-based customer called Style and Form. They're a distributor of high-end furniture, and we've seen great success powered by real-time insights. Before deploying Acumatica, they had siloed data and relied on manual data wrangling. Inventory accuracy was difficult, leading to huge overstocking. And a little bit about the Answer Company. We've been in business now for over 30 years. Actually, we're coming up on our 30-year anniversary in July. And so we've done thousands of digital transformations in that time. We are one of Acumatica's top partners here in Canada. We're very much focused on delivering Acumatica to some of those key industries that I've talked about earlier, distribution, manufacturing, and construction. And we really pride ourselves on having top-tier customer experience. And we measure ourselves on many of the same metrics that we've been talking about earlier today. Things like NPS, Net Promoter Score, is a key metric. Acumatica actually delivers a 32, which is an industry-leading NPS score, and something that's almost unheard of for most other ERP products in the marketplace. We're proud of many of our accolades: Great Places to Work, Best Places Certified, best Workplaces. All this really means is that our employees are really highly engaged, and I always like to say happy employees equals happy customers. Really focused on ensuring that our employees are well trained, they're always certified on Acumatica, and all of these things ultimately help them do their job better and give them greater job satisfaction. We're also a recognized leader. We've, Acumatica, for Acumatica, as I mentioned earlier, we're one of their top partners. We're on Bob Scott's top 100 bar list, and numerous other awards here that really just are a testament to our commitment to our customers and to being an industry-leading provider of the Acumatica solution. So finally, I'd love to thank you for taking the time today. I've got up here an email address if you have any questions. If you're interested in exploring Acumatica further, please don't hesitate to reach out to our business development group or Danny here on the call if you have some specific questions around how Acumatica might work for your business. So thank you for your time today.